every team that has a connection to someone on this show seemingly did well. Steelers, Bears, Eagles, Commanders even.
Yeah.
Is there a team that you walk away from and say, that's a team that I'm going to be looking to bet more because of the job they've done this offseason?
I don't think so. And sometimes we overreact to this. And I joked around with it on Friday with the Falcons. And we say we're not going to bet teams. Hold on. What? Maybe they drafted a couple players that might contribute a little bit. We wildly overreact to a draft and take a look at the upcoming season, I think, in a lot of cases. Now, there are some situations where you have a pair of top 10 picks and you have a quarterback involved and a receiver like the Bears, where, okay, maybe you could respond a little bit, but in most cases, you shouldn't do it. But the teams that are smart showed you that they're smart, right? Like the teams that had good drafts, like you look to the front office, like, yeah, Howie Roseman's really good at his job. And he stood pat and he got some really good corners. The biggest weakness on this team, it worked out for them. The Ravens had a good draft. Yeah, the Ravens are in the mix every year. That's a great front office. The Chiefs ended up having a pretty good draft. Yeah, they're going to win it. They've won Super Bowls and they're going to win more. So no surprises there. The ones that I think are worth mentioning, another one, there's a bunch I have, but a team that hasn't had first round picks in a very long time. I like what the Rams did. And Aaron Donald just retiring, and you take a look at what they did. They stood there at 19. Jared Verse falls to them, and then they get his teammate out of Florida State in the second round. And I don't love overdrafting for running backs, but they kind of hang out and they get Blake Corum to fall to them in the third round. They have that
Yeah.
churn of young running backs year after year that they get a ton of production from. For having a high pick for the first time in a long time, having have 10 total picks. I think the Rams got better this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, Fisk, Aaron, in the early in the second round. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I mean, Tyler Davis out of Clemson is a guy who a couple years ago, some people probably would have mocked in the second or third round. They get him way down in the sixth. Yeah, I think that's a really good point Joe makes there about instantly rebuilding some depth along a point where everybody would think you have a weakness because of the Aaron Donald retirement.
That's true. And the Rams do seem to have a good front office. Like even when we think
Mm-hmm.
they're going to take a step back, like they haven't completely fallen off a cliff. So not, I think it's awesome. What about how do we feel about the Cardinals? I mean, that's a team that I think they had a really good draft. I mean, obviously they got Marvin Harrison, but even after that, like I thought they had, a very impressive draft with who they were able to get and like fill some holes because that's a team that is a little more volatile in my opinion. Like they've struggled and they needed a lot of pieces and I think they had a solid draft.
Yeah, when
I
you've got
think so
12
too.
picks, Joe, and
Yep.
7 of them are on the first 2 days, you better stack up a lot of talent, and they did. And they've got the guy that's probably going to be the offensive rookie of the year, in my opinion, in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad bet at 6-1. Yeah, teams like when the Bears had 2 in the top 9, the Cardinals had what, 7? 7 in the top 90 picks. 7 out of
Amazing.
the top 90. So they had to attack it, and they did. I think they did a pretty good job. They're going to be solid. Just as far as the additions, I like that. We should talk about the Bills because we didn't have a chance to talk
Mm.
about it on Friday. They didn't have a pick on Thursday, and everybody knew they're going to take a receiver. What are they doing? Why do they keep trading back? And they had the first pick on day 2, and the receiver that they targeted was Keon Coleman. And he's going to be asked to step in and produce immediately. We know about no more Stephon Diggs. They've lost a ton of players all over the place. They had 10 picks between days 2 and 3. So, I mean, they made some pretty good additions, but the Keon Coleman one is interesting. So we talk about receivers in a good spot. Worthy came up because of the Chiefs angle. I don't know if that's the play, but that this is one guy that I said, okay, maybe he enters the conversation for offensive rookie of the year. He's 25-1 just because Josh Allen's his quarterback and they're going to have to throw to him. They need him on the field yesterday.
I kind of expect with the Celtics for it should look like what games 1 and game 3 looked like tonight in game 4, that they should be locked in. They should be ready to defend. They shouldn't be letting the Heat just step into a million 3-point shots. And then offensively, they really found better process in game 3. They didn't let the Heat bait them into playing a whole bunch of inside games and attacking mismatches and just playing kind of not Celtics basketball. They did a better job of keeping the ball moving, finding the shots they want, hitting the paint. And if it wasn't a for sure layup, they kicked out to take a 3, and that's their game. They did not play their game on either end of the floor in game 2, and that's why Miami won. The talent difference is so stark between these two teams. The Heat have to play basically perfectly to beat Boston. That's something you always think that can get done once in a series. To do that more than one time, that takes the other team playing in your hands. All that said, it's the Celtics. I've learned over the years, they may very much say, all right, well, we did the hard thing now. We got back home court advantage. We can rest a little bit. And if they do, Miami's going to beat them again. They have to come out focused and ready to play for 48 minutes to get this thing to a 3-1 lead and back to Boston with a chance to close it in 5.
Keith, if you were to bet some props for tonight, where might you be looking?
I don't know what the over is on the Celtics total 3-pointers, but I'd probably look at that. I think there's a good chance that they're going to be bombs away again from 3. I think Jaylen Brown was not great in game 3. I think he will be better in game 4. That's been his track record. I think he usually plays better in that. I think whatever Anthony Davis is, numbers are,
Yes.
I would bet him to probably go over. He's been really, really good. And then Nikola Jokic, I would go on, whatever it is, I think he's going to do whatever he has to get that series closed out.
Oklahoma City laying 4.5. That's it. Just 4.5, 5 in most spots, but BetMGM, if you like the Thunder, only laying 4.5 on the road in New Orleans, trying to close this series out, up 3-0, looking for the sweep, Aaron. Silly talk about the commercial aside. Yeah, does it make me want to root against the commercial and Chet Holmgren and SGA? Sure, but that's a commercial. I think this team has shown that they can close this out tonight. I don't want to say without much of a problem, but they've been dominant in a couple of their wins so far. Really, game 1 was the only one that gave you some question marks, and since then, they've taken control.
It just moved to 5 where I'm looking. I'm with you. -4.5 is the play if it's still out there. I would bet it immediately. Ever since the Zion injury, the Pelicans really haven't been able to get much going. I haven't had a lot of confidence in them. I think even on the defensive side, they're struggling as well against this Thunder team. I'm with you. I don't think the 4.5, if you can still get it, that's just not enough. I love that.